I am a gore hound. I loved it. They may as well call this movie Leatherface Kills, because that's what this is. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Justin here. As always, thanks for stopping by and hanging out with me today. Let's talk about a movie. So today, guys, we're going to be talking about none other than the brand new, infamous, instantly infamous Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022. I have a lot of thoughts. I've been really wanting to get out my thoughts about this movie, and I can't wait to talk to you guys about it. Before we get started, do me a favor, guys. Help me grow this channel. Help my algorithm. Help my poor struggling algorithm, and like this video. Subscribe if you are new, drop a comment below, let me know your thoughts on the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Apparently the most hated movie of the year. It's looking like it's gonna be that way, but not me though, folks, because you know what? I love this movie. I had a fantastic time with Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022. So for all the haters out there, hear me out. And for those of you who love it, sound off in the comments below, because I know we're few and far between the people that actually enjoyed this movie. So hope you enjoyed it, but if you didn't, let me know why in the comments down below, and let's just get into it. First off, just very briefly, and to get this out of the way, I am not a fan of the original movie. I've seen it several times. I have tried so many times, and I've talked about this in other videos too, I've tried so many times to enjoy this movie because I want to love Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I love the aesthetic. I love Leatherface. I love the gritty, grimy story, the cinematography, everything about just the raw nature of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the spirit of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the innovation of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But the thing is, I get halfway through, maybe 20, 30 minutes into the movie, and I just cannot take the characters and the incessant blood-curdling screams. I just find the movie so grating that it's just almost insufferable for me to watch. There's been times where I always want to watch it because I love the way it looks, I love the way it feels. I'll just put it on in the background and just have the sound off. I'm a big fan of the remake. The remake is my favorite in the series. I fucking love the remake. I think it's one of the best horror remakes ever made. I love Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. I think it's so much fun. And I love The Next Generation with McConaughey and what's her face? Bridget Jones. I love that movie unapologetically. I love big, dumb fun, and that's what we got with Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022. I'm still trying to wrap my mind around what I, in my opinion, to be these hyperbolic sort of grandstanding about how terribly horrible this new movie is. Sure, there's some aspects of this movie that aren't great, but as we go into this review, I ask you to please compare the critiques that you have for this new movie and apply them to the original movie and see if maybe some of those complaints, first one isn't that great either. I'm just gonna get out of the way the things that did bug me about this movie, because this movie isn't perfect. I didn't love every aspect of it, but with a runtime of barely over an hour, all the bloody kills and all the fun stuff in between, I can deal with some shitty characters and a weak setup. I can deal with that. So that being said, let's talk about the setup. It's not exactly clear who or exactly what is going on here, but from what you gather in the quick setup, a group of influencers or teen has somehow gathered enough clout for investors to come through and help them purchase these properties or this town as a whole. And people want to fill these vacant buildings with their trendy little businesses, whether it be a coffee shop, a music store, comic shop, whatever the hell they mentioned in there. Obviously, that doesn't make a lot of sense if you really start to put some focus on it. They're in the middle of nowhere in a town where nobody wants them, so they're expecting all of these fancy businesses, first of all, to stay afloat until townspeople come in, and I guess they expect people to sort of move in and start building houses here. I don't know. It doesn't make sense. And then we get to the point that a lot of people don't like a lot of these characters. Are the characters in the original super likable? Are any group of teens in a group of teens go to rural anywhere USA? Are those characters ever amazing? Like, I don't know, like, what are we doing here? What are we complaining about? I'm actually really glad that I'm talking about this movie after it's been out for a few days, because I'm just reading. I'm in a lot of nerdy Facebook groups, and I talk about movies all day on Instagram and on Twitter and all this mess. And the vitriol and the venom and hatred towards this movie, I just don't understand. The characters are a little annoying, couple weak plot points, but what we get is an amazing, brutal, gory slasher that gets straight to the point. It doesn't overstay its welcome, and I had a lot of fun with it. The cinematography is beautiful. It's shot really well, in my opinion, even if you don't like all the characters. The performances are great. I think the performances are great, especially with the two lead girls. There's some annoying character quirks, but I feel like the character stuff and the setup is over so quickly when the brutality starts that once that kicks in, what's not to like? We have some really great scenes of tension and suspense in these scenes that really take their time, create quiet moments that aren't just waiting for the next jump scare. The initial car crash sequence, when the girl's in the car as she's waiting, as Leatherface is cutting the face off, she's trying to slowly get out, and the reveal of him behind her. It was great, and it was really quiet. I love when horror movies sort of get quiet and let tension build. Even with this short runtime, I felt like the scenes breathed, which you just don't get a lot of the time. But that first initial crash is so great, and it starts off with some good kills there with the arm break, and then he shoves the bone in his neck. That was fucking awesome. We of course have this massive, brutal, almost Dead Alive. That's the scene in the bus really reminded me of Dead Alive, Peter Jackson's movie, with the lawnmower, where it was just nonstop carnage. And this brings up another thing about the CGI blood, which I've heard a lot of complaints about, that I've complained about a lot, especially with Rob Zombie. But the difference I felt like in this, I felt like with the way it was lit and the way it was really contrasty with some of the gore, I did not, this is one of the first times it didn't bother me, I didn't really mind the CGI blood and gore. When you try to use CGI blood and gore in a really highly lit scene, it is very obvious when the blood just doesn't have the right flow, it just doesn't look natural. In this, I felt like it was a fantastic mix of practical and CGI. I am a gore hound. I loved it. They may as well call this movie Leatherface Kills, because that's what this is. I hope you guys sound off in the comments, and don't just be like, this movie's garbage, this movie's trash. Actually, illustrate your thoughts. Also, it was also good to see Alice Krieg, the mother of Leatherface, but the mother from Sleepwalkers. She was also in Gretel and Hansel. She was great, killed off a little quickly, and one of the aspects sort of missing from this one that is in the other one is that family aspect. So I wish he would have had a group of some kooky cousins or people that surround Leatherface like in most of these movies. You know, I just think that adds a lot of flavor and color to, you know, the narrative. But this movie is the Leatherface show. Leatherfuck. And a great third act. I actually really didn't mind the third act. Another thing that I complain about a lot of movies are these bloated runtimes. And that's a lot of the reason why this movie worked for me so well. It has all of the fat trimmed off of it. The movie just flies by. One thing that I would sympathize with somebody who this movie really pissed off would be probably the misuse of the Sally character, bringing her in exactly like they did in Halloween 2018, only to kill her almost immediately and literally throw her away like trash in a pile of trash. She had Leatherface in her sights 2 feet away from his face, and she doesn't shoot him. That did piss me off. I'll admit that. But the final confrontation when he impales her, lifts her up in the air, that was fucking amazing. It doesn't cut away, it lingers on her, sort of just like, it may be slightly disrespectful to the legacy of that character, but in the context of the film, it was fucking great. I loved it. Great kill. Another sequence I absolutely loved was in the third act when the sisters are having their first final confrontation with Leatherface. It's almost a shot-for-shot recreation of that scene in Terminator 2, where T-1000 is almost to the edge of the molten metal, and she's cranking that shotgun, and then it runs out of bullets or whatever, and then the other sister steps in frame just like Linda Hamilton did. It was absolutely amazing. What a What a fantastic sequence. I loved it. And then the stinger at the end was amazing. The ending scene, which people seem to hate, the decapitation scene at the end, icing on the cake. It made the ending third act of that movie so much better, and it gave that final piece of fanfare to where the movie does not let up even until the very last second of the movie. So even if you didn't like all those characters, every single one of them is killed. Every single one of them is killed. The chef guy with his jaw hanging all off, the guy getting his head smashed in on the floor. What is not to like for horror fans in this movie? I'd really like to know, because I had a fucking blast with Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022. I had so much fun with this movie. I will definitely watch it again. I've watched it twice already. I will be picking it up on Blu-ray. Being that this isn't a Netflix original, this was purchased by Netflix, that the producers and studio just did not have any faith in this movie whatsoever. I think it was initially supposed to be at least a small theatrical run, and they just went ahead and sold it to Netflix, which probably was the safer business move for them. Definitely a lot of people are talking about it with so much hate surrounding the movie. I think it's driven a lot of people to watch it and sort of figure it out for themselves. But for me, to you, viewer, if you're somebody that hated this movie, first of all, did you watch it more than once? Give it a second try, and do you really hate this movie, or are you maybe just need your diaper changed? I think you need your diaper changed, but that's just me. So, guys, let me know your thoughts on Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022. I personally had a blast with it. I will definitely watch this again. This is easily probably my second favorite, third favorite in the franchise. I loved it. So let me know your thoughts below, guys. I appreciate you guys stopping by. Thank you so much. Pete, as always, appreciates it too. So guys, stay weird. Remember to always be yourself, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.